Okay, good evening, members of council, members of our management team. We'd like to recognize distinguished guests here in our council chambers. I always like to see people here at our public council meetings. I'd also recognize that as of right now at 4:02, we have 3 attendees that have logged on via electronics. And so I'll call the meeting to order. It is 4:02 p.m. Beautiful day here in the great town of Stephenville, Newfoundland. The weather's warm and the sky is clear. Number 2, the acknowledgement before we get going. So important. We respectfully acknowledge the town of Stephenville as the ancestral homeland of different populations of indigenous people. We also acknowledge with respect the rich histories and cultures of the Gothic, Mi'kmaq, Innu and Inuit of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. I would like to put item 2.1 in. The role of the public at public meetings, and this is something that we have to sometimes say when we have live people in public, but we do have public on electronic, but they can't interact with us. So we thought it was important to have that identified. We are now up to 5 attendees online. So as we have more public attending our council meetings, and having said that, under the new regulations that come down on January 1, 2025, our finance and planning meetings that were not public in the past are now public meetings. So we can get guests in our lobby to all of our meetings for the discussion and debate. So we wish to note that in section 4.2 of the municipal handbook, councils are required to hold a public meeting at least once a month. Town like Stephenville, who has so much business happening, we meet every 2 weeks, except for the summer, we rotate into 3 weeks. The public may attend and observe council proceedings, but cannot participate in discussions. The code generally restricts the public from speaking or distracting the meeting in any way, but once I drop the gavel afterwards, somebody wants to say hello, and that's all really good. Often individual residents with a matter before council take an opportunity to attend the meetings when their matter is being discussed. And that's for us as a council to have open discussion, debate, question, and take it to a vote if required. In this context, it may be acceptable for individual councilors, with the permission of the chairperson, to ask questions and seek points of clarification from a resident who would be in the room. Often the resident asks for an opportunity to speak on the matter of interest. So I just wanted to clarify that. Item number 3, the approval of the agenda. I would ask a member of council that we approve the agenda as circulated.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Tom O'Brien, second. Second, Councillor Maurice Hines, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 4, approval of minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of May 1, 2025 public meeting of the town will be approved. These minutes were circulated to all members of council via electronic media by our town clerk as procedure. I would ask the member of council those minutes be approved.
Move.
Moved by Councillor Darren Roberts, second.
Second.
Second, Councillor Michael White. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Are there any matters arising from those minutes? I hear no matters arising. Proclamations and delegations. We had the privilege of having correction staff here this past week. So we did sign a proclamation to bring attention to Corrections Week. The town of Stephenville proclaimed that May 4th to the 10th, 2025 to be Corrections Week in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Okay, so I will now turn it over to our Chair of Finance, Councillor Myra White, for item number 7.
Thank you. Finance Committee reports. Item number 1, accounts payable. Be resolved to approve accounts payable for May 15th, 2025 in the amount of $230,702.45 as presented.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, second.
Second.
Second, Councillor Darren Roberts, all in favor?
Aye. Item number 2 is the expense checks. Be it resolved to approve expense checks in the amount of $382,407.73. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second by Councilor Laura Aylward. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Item number 3, be it resolved to approve property tax write-offs in the amount of $326.42. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second.
Second.
Councilor Darren Roberts. All in favor?
Aye. Item number 4, a remission of tax. Be it resolved to approve remission of tax in the amount of $850.85. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Item number 5, a community grant program application. Item number 1, be it resolved to approve community grant to Stephenville Cultural Destination Committee in the amount of $24,000 to support Stephenville Summer Soiree events from July the 2nd to August the 28th. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second. Councilor Maurice Hines. I just want to say that part of this summer was a change up happening with the SCDC, which was been ongoing for 7-8 years now.
The first year was 2014.
Ooh,
11 years.
yeah, 11 years, time flies. But you know, they have to look at a rebrand for this year, so there's some additional costs with signage and stuff like that. And they did have a really good application in with a description of their expenses and so forth. So it's a really good thing for the residents, for tourists, and just for people in the region to come to Stephenville.
They do a lot of good work, and they bring a lot of interest in the different events that they would put off during the summer, because like everything else, I mean, you got to change with the times and adjust this and learn from your past experiences, and that's what it means good
Yeah.
that you're going to be so active this year, right?
Yeah, and you know, when you look at the board of directors, and they may have, 7-9 people, and if you add up the volunteer hours, what that board of directors brings to the town, just a lot of other organizations, it's priceless.
If you took the volunteers to the town,
To be
we
honest,
had nothing.
we have nothing.
Our $10 million budget wouldn't cover it.
No. Yeah, so all in favor?
Aye.
Carry. Item number 5.2, Councilor White.
Item number 5.2, be it resolved to approve community grant to Walkaways Parks and Trails in the amount of $18,000 for continued trail maintenance, signage, and flower gardens in the Blanche Brook Park. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carry. Just want to say once again, volunteer group, some of the leaders like Mr. Lohman, Mr. Grenier, the amount of work they've done is just unbelievable, and so much pride. 20 acres just in Blanchwood Park alone. 20 kilometers of trails in Stephenville. That's a big piece of real estate.
I remember when we opened the park. And from Paul and Derek and Dick and all them, we mean all the volunteers put all the work into development. The park. Starting out was the Ruffles Park corner. But I remember making the comment, which the boys were not there for self-praise. That's one thing for sure. So they really didn't appreciate that I pointed them out, but I pointed them for a reason. Up to the opening of the park, we had spent, I think it was $160,000 or $170,000. And I pointed out to the public that was there, for the money that we spent doing what was done at that particular point in time. Without volunteers like Paul and Derek and them, the only thing we would have would be a glossy report from a consultant. We'd be flicking through the pictures saying, it'd be nice to have that, it'd be nice to have that. But the money turned up on the ground because of the volunteers. So you mean, not only do they do a lot, they bring a lot of money into town too.
Yeah. And what's nice about, like Blanchbrook Park, it enhances and protects green spaces. And, you know, it can't be all bricks and mortar and pavement and asphalt and block interlock. You gotta have green spaces. You gotta be a balance, right? So good work by two great committees. Okay, Councilor White, item number 6.
Item number 6 is request for sponsorship, 2025 CFFF Memorial Bike Ride. Be it resolved that the town of Stephenville provide a sponsorship in the amount of $500 to the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Foundation Memorial Cycling Ride. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, second. Second, Councilor Laura Aylward. All in favor, or question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary mind. Okay, note that we have one dissenting vote, Councilor Darren Roberts.
One of our firefighters, Nigel Peak, attended this last year and done the ride, so.
Yeah.
You mean it's,
Yeah, and I think he
He
does it
spends a
every
lot of
year.
money to get there and everything too,
Yes.
so it's representing
And then he.
the community and the province.
She's carried the names of the fallen firefighters from Newfoundland each time as well.
I mean, that's how committed he is, he spends his own money to get there.
And you got,
He applied through the sponsorship form that we have created, and it has to meet criteria to be accepted. Have that
Okay.
have sponsorship.
so, okay,
So do you need us to move that or anything?
Well, I think you guys know.
We did. Yeah, we did.
So you know, it meets criteria that we have already laid out in our sponsorship policy that you guys already.
Yeah.
So number 7, I can speak to when we get to it.
Sure, yeah.
It wasn't
okay,
brought before county committee, but it's
okay, so.
Okay, we're on
Let's
to-
go on the table for discussion and debate and then take it from there. So, Councilor, item number 7.
Item number 7.7, approved to enter into an agreement with the College of the North Atlantic. Be resolved to enter into a partnership agreement with the College of the North Atlantic Innovation Internship Program, IIP, and contribute $9,775 to support innovative activities and utilize equipment and materials for 3D modeling, geo-reinforcing, and surveying. I so move.
Move back, Councilor Myra White, second.
My question,
We need a second.
Need a second?
Second by Deputy Mayor Susan Bella.
I'd like to, it sounds very like a great idea, but I like to have it deferred, because I like to be able to read the agreement. I don't feel comfortable voting on stuff that I never read up on, especially when you sign agreements. I don't feel comfortable voting on stuff that,
There was the next one.
circulated.
There was an attachment.
And I can explain, this is under our this initiative we've been pushing for the last 6 months. Try to get to the point where we finally just received the copy of the agreement. So that's it. If council wishes to wait, until the next cycle to put it through, but we wanted to get it on there because some of these activities can start as soon as the contract.
So am I the only one who got the attachment then?
No.
Because
No,
I read it,
I
I got
read
an
it.
email, it had an attachment. which
Yeah,
Had all this on it.
I have it.
Yeah,
I don't
It's a
know what
copy?
attachments on the computer.
It's the,
well, it could be that.
It could be that too.
if there was a
But,
copy.
to me, I read it, I thought it was good. It's, certainly provides us with some expertise that we wouldn't have access to for this kind of price, as well as providing support to students. So I'm certainly.
Just for clarity, because we've been working on this so long.
It's basically
Sometimes the
places.
the subject matter is a little foggy, but I do know because we have a lot of local infrastructure that having the geothermal and all the advancement from the college, it helps us to leverage funding from the federal program. And I just know our deputy Candace just received $70,000 for the resiliency fund. Could you maybe just brief, that's something that's correlated at all?
The climate adaptation fund, and that's to help us with creating our own climate adaptation plan along with several other municipalities
Okay.
in Atlantic provinces. A little bit different.
So the other thing about this one is it's something that we had contemplated and have identified and budgeted for as far as the housing goes, because this will help us achieve one of the steps that were a part of the housing initiative, which is getting the topography done. And although we're getting a lot more than that with this group's assessment of all of our vacant land as well, the total topography of the vacant land lots that we have, et cetera. So that's a little bit of the work they'll be doing, but they have 2 interns and the entire staff of that department available under this agreement
That's what I was.
for a very small amount.
Yeah, it's almost like accepting an internship or something, or a, student placement. kind
On
of
that
thing.
question, I think it was this. And they never showed up with the finance, we have finance one, they never showed up with finance, so we never had a chance to go through it. Yeah.
Could start.
Well-
Yeah.
Right.
It's another delay, right?
But
I think that we're going to end up with some great, results from this project being done. Because I thought I was very well written, so, I really liked what they were doing because we're going to benefit from what they do.
So we do have a motion, seconded on the table. We had some discussion, debate. Maybe what we need to do is just out of clarity, call for the vote, for the acceptance of the motion, or call for the vote. It would require a new motion if we were going to defer it.
Or withdrawal, like whatever.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
but they, at
No,
least deferred, I would like to have some of what you're doing explained a bit more.
By
Really.
college.
But, yeah.
We got it.
It's a contract.
No, no, yes,
How we got it, or how it came about this knowledge, but I tend to be with Susan, somehow I've seen,
Can you print it? Can you print it?
I've seen information on what the application was for. We approved that quite some time ago, that we would enter into an MOU with the college as
Yes.
Yeah.
negotiating agreements with this. So somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was a attachment or what, but somewhere along the line, we got information.
Yeah.
So you need,
Tell you what,
there's two seasons in Newfoundland, winter and construction. That's what a fellow said on line the other morning. And he's right. So you need to lose 3 weeks to it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure on the other side of this, the college is using this as, we're in a partnership with the town of Stephenville, which is helping them with their funding and budgets and all that stuff.
And the other thing.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, because we're wasting time on it. Can we put this on the last item on the agenda?
So you
So-
have time to read.
Yes. Only take me 5 or 10 minutes.
This is,
putting at the table, it's just 2 major components to it of what, we'll have 2 students from the college. And there's 2 main things that they're going to do. So
Yeah, but you're only reading a part of the,
the agreement is.
and you can, so I won't take me 5 minutes to run through it.
So
Obviously, I'm comfortable with it,
this is the last item, Darren.
eh?
This is the last item.
Well, actually, I got a couple of things that I could go through while we.
Yeah.
Council Roberts to overview.
Won't take me 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So just a couple of things here. I guess this is more of for the general public. An important notice, we're going to be doing fire hydrant flushing program. And it's going to actually started yesterday, May 14th. So the town will be conducting a routine fire hydrant flushing program starting Tuesday, May 20th.
So
And we'll
in that regard, the mayor, we should kind of forewarn the public that needed some colored water.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of.
Watch your water before you put your weights in the washer.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be ongoing for the next few weeks, so they're open without any other emergencies coming up from a public works perspective. It could be done in 2 to 3 weeks. Flushing will begin in the base area and will continue throughout the town. While flushing takes place in specific areas, residents or businesses across the town may still experience temporary water discoloration, as Councillor O'Brien had experienced this before, I'm sure. These effects are normal and should be brief. If water discoloration occurs, we recommend running an outdoor tap, such as the one used for a garden hose, until the water runs clean or clean. If you don't have an outdoor tap, run a cold water tap inside your home instead. We appreciate your understanding as we carry out this important maintenance to ensure water quality and system reliability that is there for the residents. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. So we want to thank Public Works for having that into their plan of action for the spring. The other thing we want to mention is we've had a lot of discussions in the last few years with council, and I know we got a lot from Deputy Mayor Susan Powell, that our communication was lacking because we don't have a local radio station, we don't have weekly newspapers, we don't have daily newspapers, and it's very, very difficult. And not everybody got computers and internet, and so, but this one is just an added electronic means to get community in sync with what's happening. And there's going to be a variety of different people in the community leaders, volunteers, community groups being podcasts. So we will soon be launching an online town podcast in order to keep our residents better informed about what's happening in our community. We plan to provide updates on different departments and events at the town level. So that could be everything from the fire department to public works to engineering, planning, administration, yeah. Feature town historians, and we have plenty. We have elders in our community, leaders of community organizations, nonprofit groups, local business owners, and organizers of special events happening around town. We're also asking for your help as citizens. We want to hear from your ideas on what to name the podcast. So there's going to be a little bit of a competition here. That's going to be good for the community. And also suggestions on topics you would like to see featured. Details on how to submit your suggestions will be posted on our social media account soon. And so we want to thank our communications director for taking the lead on this and being supported by our management team. That's going to actually spread what's happening in the town by our different groups.
And the details of the contest will be published on our website and circulated to our mailing list as well.
Sounds good. So we're gonna just back up, I guess, to our item number 7 from our. So maybe what we should do is I would prefer if we
Redo it.
I'll ask for the motion in the second again, and then.
Okay, thank you. It's item number 7.7, approved to enter into an agreement with the College of the North Atlantic. Be it resolved to enter into a partnership agreement with the College of the North Atlantic Innovation Internship Program, IIP, and contribute $9,775 to support in innovative activities and utilize equipment and materials for 3D modeling, geo-reinforcing, and surveying ISO.
Moved by Councilor Myra Lynch, second. Second, Deputy Mayor Susan Fowler. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion's carried.
I'd like to make a comment now. I have since held it all.
Okay.
I think it's a good agreement. In the agreements I did, I'm concerned about indemnities and insurance and responsibilities and that.
Yeah.
And that's certainly, we're so covered off. And yeah.
So it's nice to have a set of eyes looking at legal draft of any MOU that we sign, especially when we start to have particulars on finance. Sometimes MOUs don't stipulate financial items, and they can kind of, they take it on, yeah. Okay, so do we have anything late for finance? And we have nothing for planning. Is that correct?
No, the planning things we discussed, and we needed to go back and make a better decision once we have all the information. That was what happened.
Yeah, and there is one which we were discussing today. On our construction projects that we have where they've been approved by the government and council has approved our involvement. We're now coming up with change orders to these various agreements for quantity adjustments generally. And normally in the past, these would require a motion of council to approve. So there's a number of them that are in the offing waiting for us to bring them forward. So they'll be brought forward at the next council meeting. But also with that, what we intend to do is to bring forward a delegation of approval authority to allow within a certain amount. So within the amount that's allowable under the approved
MCW.
municipal plan, amount that they prescribed, to allow us within that confines to allow the recommendation of the director to satisfy the change order. If it goes outside of the financial parameters that are already approved by council and by the province, that's a different thing that would be brought back to the council table. But within the confines of the approved amounts that are subject to the MCW approval, we can still draw that money and draw our own support. So that's the part that we need to get worked out in a program that allows those things to be done. We've got 2 change orders already on one, 2 on a past agreement that the change orders hadn't been finalized, and they just sort of popped up after the fact when we were trying to finalize the loan amount for our share. So we'll bring that forward the next council round, and just wanted the council to be aware of that, and hopefully to make it easier for the Public Works Department to approve these as they go up to the limits.
Mayor, we had a meeting with the pool last night, in town rep on that. Our financially, we're on our own. That's what you can do, you're on your own. But there is some concerns with some of the older equipment. One of our compressors, they're only 10 years old, issues with it. Our pumps, we're gonna have to look at that. And they've been there for 30 years. So equipment is getting old, don't realize it, 30 years old. So that's some stuff we got to address in the coming season. Also, regarding to, they got a grant, it was $9,900 from the federal government to put off free swims and everything else. And please announce that's generating new revenue.
That we will keep coming.
They're gonna bring their friends in, and now they're joining up for the swim classes and the membership. So,
It's having a good effect.
so it's
Yes.
having
Yeah.
not busting the scenes, but there's some positive turnover on that there and whatever. And I just like to commend that staff down there. Without them, you're talking volunteers, these guys down there, they're keeping that glue together.
And it could probably work the same when we get something like for stadium, when people get free skates, all of a sudden, well, I really like this, and maybe I'll get into hockey, maybe we'll get into figure skating, so.
Well, he got this funding, he's going to look at doing something in my understanding and the summer. Try to generate new activity.
So on the assessment of the equipment, of course, our Public Works people are available to assist however possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As opposed to spending money on getting an assessment.
Well, no,
We've had that happen a number of times to us. We had an assessment a while ago, invited a local firm to do the work, and only to be said that they're going to charge us money for coming in and having assessed.
no, our manager down there, team got a good relationship with Public Works, so they've been working hand in hand, and actually, my understanding, some of the equipment or parts they buy, they do it through our Public Works.
Yeah.
Because they got the better connections and all that. So it's a great relationship.
Yeah.
And just more of a relationship with Marissa, helping them look for different programs and everything else there too. So we're growing that too.
And when we, in Public Works, when, with the water plant in particular, one of our last items was a journeyman electrician. And having that skill set within Public Works is critical to help out the pool room, the stadium, and whether it's the curling club. And, it's almost like having a journeyman electrician and a journeyman millwright. Having those skill sets are so important when it comes to running with that, right?
I just like to highlight again, we give them a grant of 160,000, but that's the least of what we do. covered insurances and our staff is that, our town staff is down there helping everything else. So there's
Yeah.
in-kind contribution going down there too.
Yeah.
So,
So I would probably assume that the executive of the pool would plan any potential capital expenditures coming into new year that the regional group would support and the grant into the budget, say for 2026.
We're working on that there now and hopefully, I'm looking at, or we are late August, early September. That a manager come up and at least make a presentation to at least the finance committee.
Okay.
The status and what requirements going to need to
It's good.
keep moving.
Then probably we would facilitate that to the government of Newfoundland seeking funding or the government of Canada.
That's right.
Depending on,
Okay, that sounds good. So any unfinished business? I got 3 or 4 things I just got to brief you on the new business, but I'll open the floor to new business for anybody.
Well, the only thing I will say is that congratulations to Jamie Lewis, is it, that got the Canada $1 million Jake? Yeah, and his cousins live in town, Marcella and Jim Rogers. So a big congratulations goes out to that young man because he's got those twin little boys and they had a lot of difficulties, you know, with their birth and everything. So everybody was so excited. I just want to say, you know, congratulations to his family and all the best for him as he goes to the future with his music career. And then the other thing is we lost another one of our musicians lately, John Carroll. So that's a loss to us too, because he's been a good promoter of our community over the years and playing in the bands and playing for different events and so on and so forth. So sympathy can go to John Carroll's family as well.
So a couple of things. Last night I had the privilege of being in at Grenfell campus for a reception, pre-reception that took place before the convocation that happened today. But we had 2 residents from our region. We had Catalina Watson receiving the honorary degree for her role in sport. And in her role in sport, she has taken it to the highest gold medals, you know, as a Paralympian. And like I said, I was so impressed with her speech last night. She's such a well-spoken lady. And we just talked about the pool. Here we got the regional pool in Seymour that created a gold medalist in the Olympics. And that's a lot to be said. And like I said, she's been on a journey with her parents, but her parents have equally been on the journey with her. They are so supportive of her and done so much for her, but she's just full of vitality and it was so nice to see. The other honorary degree last night that I was so proud, good friend of mine, I sat on the board of directors of the CBDC with him, Mr. Robert Cormier, out of Cape St. George.
Yes.
Back in the 70s, being a French Acadian, losing the language and those days started. And it took him a long time to get French schools and French daycares. But he was recognized by Memorial University getting a degree, honorary degree last night. And also, he was very compassionate and his speech was from the heart last night. So very proud of what he's done and the work that we're now doing on our Acadian culture really ties into the great work that's happening in the region. I'm just wondering, I got a couple of things I'm going to single out Mr. Mike Ratter here. And I kind of just found out sometimes our management team are doing so much behind the scenes that we don't always know everything that's going on. But I was briefed by Mike that we did receive a grant from a net zero program. Maybe you could speak on it. I think we were the first town in the province to receive.
PNC Corps.
Yes.
Yeah, the first municipality in Yukon Labrador to be selected for the PNC pool.
Which is really good. So could you kind of maybe just Cole's note really quickly brief us on that?
Sure, it's federal funded by Environment Canada, ICLEI. There's, I think, 60 municipalities across the whole country that are kind of working together in partnership to develop green building standards, to go towards the Canada building code for 2030. That everything has to be net
Okay,
ready.
2030. Yeah, there's it's interesting, the targets that there with the world economy are on 2030, the 2050 targets, and they sometimes keep pushing out. So anyways, great work on behalf of our management team. The other one I wanted to mention is Marine Contracting is doing great work on Main Street. But I did notice, and just maybe a question for Matt, that when I was in front of the Royal Bank today, I noticed one of our sidewalks were cracked. So once we complete, if we see any sidewalks that are in a state of disrepair with cracks, are we getting them repaired as part of the scope of this work, or could it be considered?
Would have to be additional work. It's not what the replacement does not include the sidewalks.
No, so in our budget for this year, we do have sidewalk budget, so after it's done, maybe we can get a scan of the sidewalks. Because anytime you have a safety issue, it's a safety
Yeah.
issue, it's a tripping hazard.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a little audit done and ensure that our sidewalks. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, is there some kind of an agreement or schedule when it comes to paving as to how long and all this kind of stuff? Because there's complaints coming in from the businesses that the contractors are off all weekend. There's no work being done, and they're talking about, you know, what is going to happen to their businesses, and they're concerned, and they say, well, you know, if a paving company's got a contract to do a paving job, you would think they would continue on and do it as quickly as they could to try to get it done. So I don't know what to tell these people.
Well, we got some comments, but you want to have a couple comments?
Yeah, just a couple of points, because we did have concerns raised, as Councillor Aylward indicated, by a number of businesses as well as individuals, to say, how come there's a 4-day break for the company as it works? This contractor, when they bid the job, they bid it on the basis of their normal work schedule. Their normal work schedule is a 10 days on, 4 days off blended work schedule. They normally work 12-hour days for 10 days at a time. If they were to try to fill that other 4 days, it would be total overtime, and the cost would be far in excess of the current project costs that we have. So what will happen is, rather than taking weekends off, they do 10 days on, 4 days off. And sometimes the people that are working are actually traveling back during some of those 4 days off. So they give up some of that as a part of their overall. So there's really no possibility to get any quality work done in that 4-day window of normal days off. It's just compressed work and then 4 days off and then compressed work again. So, and that's how the job is costed. And to make any suggestions to them to change their work schedule really would not be, it would be financially prohibitive in the current circumstance and the way they did the job. So we appreciate the input of the public on it and hope we can educate them on that part, because that's an important element of how a lot of construction is done. And it's probably going to be the same for the work we're going to do on Rose Avenue. We've tried to schedule with the input of the business community on the Main Street reconstruction, for example, doing the center portion first. Initially, we were going to do the portion by Queen Street because it's broken into 3 sub-projects. So right now we're doing the middle section, which is the first preference of the group assembled from the downtown business area. And then we'll do either the end towards Queen or the end towards West and finish it off. So it's approximately a 5-month by the time you get it all done. And even then, we've got more paving to do next year as well, once you get the first capital.
The other thing too with this project, normally you do your first base coat in the following year, but because they've started so early, Municipal Capital Works and Engineering may allow the second coat to be completed in September. So it'll be totally done. But the first base coat could happen in June if they're on schedule. The other thing I want to say is that we knew doing this massive project. Now remember, Queen Street hasn't, Main Street, water and sewer hasn't been done for 70 years. It had to be done. We know the businesses, that's the street that most businesses are on. But at the end of the day, there's gonna be a little bit short-term pain, but there's gonna be long-term gain because we're gonna have a better Main Street. And then our plan is to work at aesthetically making Main Street much better based on Upland's report with benches and greenery. Our goal is to have the nicest Main Street in Newfoundland and Labrador. That's the goal. Now, it's gonna take a bit of time to get there, a bit of budget, a bit of money. But when you do that, you're gonna attract people to Stephenville, and that's really gonna help your downtown core.
Right,
Thank you very much for that, Councillor.
thank you.
Okay, so I kind of got two more quick ones. We have talked about it many times, and we've been briefed many times by subject matter experts that we have, when it comes to geology and fossils, we have it in spades. There's no other part of this province got what we have here. And I'm going to put a little request out to management and going to steer towards our economic development guy, Mike Rader over there, and our management team. But anyways, what I'm requesting is management to look at their fiscal year running into the end of this year and possibly look at next September, the whole of Geology Symposium Summit in Stephenville, Newfoundland. This would be pan-Canadian, my recommendations, and we've had discussions over the last years, we've talked about this. So we would target all the universities across Canada that have geology programs, like Memorial has a very significant one, but all across Canada, some of our academia institutions have really good geological, and it could be a symposium for, say, 100 people. It would be a 2-3 day event that would entail visits to the fossil sites. Remember, we have a 300 million year old Pangea fossil forest in Blanche Brook running through a 20-acre beautiful park. Very, very unique. And my thoughts are, we even have, like every year, one of the universities in New Hampshire has a massive geology program. Every year, they're in Stephenville port to port every year with personnel. So I think we need to capitalize on it. And coming out of that, we had talked about downline, building a small interpretation center that would have storyboards for the region. I know. So maybe what we need to do is get the committee formed, get it going.
That's right.
And get something scheduled, but we got to get a Gantt chart. We got to set some timelines. So to me, best time to do it would be September 2026. So it's just a little wish list I got there. So my last one, I just wanted to say that as of yesterday, there's a covenant of mayors, and I think it was started by Mayor Bloomberg a couple of decades ago out of New York City. And mayors across the world, it's global, they actually look at innovation in smart cities to try to make their communities, cities, and towns more resilient and sustainable. So when we did the scan on Stephenville, that would be an example of innovation and resiliency and sustainability and lowering your carbon footprint because you're not spilling water and electricity and stuff like that. So I got a podcast, and for the record, this is the first time a Canadian city or town has ever been podcast. They've had 122 podcasts since they've started, and this is global. So it was a podcast that came out of Germany, and this has gone global. It's a 37-minute podcast on the things that's happening in Stephenville. And it's everything from our effluent system and carbon credits and our scan. It's about giving a grant to the SPCA to put solar on the, it's talking about the plans potentially for world energy. So it's talking about all the innovation around green and reducing the carbon. So kudos to our council. Kudos to the town of Stephenville. We were first in Canada. So,
Yes.
so that's all I have. Anything else? No. So On that note, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn. Okay, I got it. I got the hand up from Councilor Tom O'Brien, looking for a second.
Second,
Second, Councilor Marlon White. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. I want to thank the people in our lobby, our management team, and the 6 people that have logged on to our public council meeting. Anyways. Good stuff.